Good morning, everybody. Ryan back here with you again, out here in Barstow, California. As you can see at the motel here, not because of any breakdown or heat or anything, but as you all know, if you've been watching, I was hoping I got done with that window load early because I ran like a tyrant, or ran pretty hard the last couple of days, or last week. Hoping that if I had this other load booked for Monday, so it's nobody's fault that I'm in this situation. But I was hoping I could get done on Thursday, which I did with that window load, and then I was going to try to get that other load moved up to Friday. And sometimes that works. It's a crapshoot. It's a 50-50. Something I like about Landstar is that some of these agents, they have pretty good relationships with the customers, and they will sometimes accommodate you. So what got me back on the road last night, and with my recaps and everything, I could have kept running. I was in a pretty good position on hours, so I could have been back home mid next week and got that load delivered a little bit early, but yeah, oh well. So instead of running my tri-pack and being cooped up in the truck for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I decided was looking at hotels down here and rates and all that, and got this place here for like $51 a night, so not too big of a deal. I got a little bit of maintenance to do on the truck when I'm here, so we got parts. I already bought the stuff before I left the house, so I was kind of anticipating sitting out here for the weekend anyways, so that's kind of why I bought the stuff. And it's kind of nice. I mean, I don't like sitting all weekend, but it's nice because it gives me an opportunity to kind of catch up on things that I normally wouldn't get done when I'm on the road, because usually after driving 700 miles plus a night, I usually just want to get in the truck and kind of, veg out or whatever and not really do anything. Maybe watch a couple movies or something and do kind of the necessary stuff that I have to do. So we're going to put on a fan belt tensioner, new fan belt, and I noticed that my cab suspension leveling valve, it's the fittings in it are leaking a little bit of air, so that's where my truck's bleeding off. It's relatively easy to get to. I'll show you where it's at. But what sucks is you got to buy the whole unit, because you can't, the fittings, the air fittings for the air lines going into it, they're built into the actual leveling valve, so it ain't like you can unscrew them and put a new fittings in. I mean, that would be nice, because I mean, it wasn't too expensive. It was only like $80, but it's right down here, so it's easy to get to, right at the back of the cab, so that won't be a big deal. My fan belt tensioner, it's been kind of squeaking now and then, and the belt's kind of jumping. It is the original one. It's still got red Cummins paint on it. I'm having set 700,000 on this truck, so I'm really impressed that it lasted that long. But the new one costed almost $300, so Cummins is awfully proud of it. Maybe that's why, because it lasted that long. That's about the longest I've seen one last. So that's something you don't want to have a catastrophic failure with, and I'll show you why here. Set this down. All right. So it's fan belt tensioner is right behind it. I'll switch these here and get in there behind it. But I'll go ahead and switch this around right now so I can show you what I'm talking about. Alright, like you said, fan belt and fan belt tension. As you can see, this still has red paint on it. The only thing you have to do to remove this is we'll have to take a 1/2-inch breaker bar, and there's a square hole up here where you can put a ratchet or 1/2-inch breaker bar into, and you'll have to take the tension off, take the belt off. Then all you gotta do is take this bolt out, and this whole thing will pull off, put the new one on, put the belt back on. The belt, we'll have to walk it up over the fan blade. But the reason you don't want to have a failure on this is if this pulley comes off, something comes apart on this, or even the belt coming apart, it's very well possible that it could get caught up in your fan, break these plastic fan blades off, or even worse, it can get up in between the fan and the radiator and destroy your radiator. And that's something, if that happens while you're going down the road, you are not driving away. You are going to get into a tow situation. You're going to be sitting somewhere for days waiting for a new radiator, and it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s. So all because of the belt's $80, the tensioner was $290 something, so we'll just call it, you know, $375 or so for everything out the door. And it'll probably, this is about a half-hour job maybe, so it's not a big deal. So like I said, it's not a big deal to change that out. It's a lot worse if it comes apart, and it's going to cost you pretty big money, and you're going to be down for a couple days with something like that, if it, worst case scenario. So that's something that you guys want to keep an eye on. Like I said, when mine's running, I don't want to start it up because I don't want to get everything all hot before I do this. But you can see that tensioner kind of bouncing a little bit, and it should be somewhat firm. But it's got a lot of miles on it, 700,000 miles. I'm pretty impressed that it lasted that long. So that's what we got going on. There's the other thing I've got. We got the house on the market that I was talking about. Finally, I've been talking about a lot about getting it on the market. We got that on the market. Had an open house and had an offer above asking within 2 days. I think we had it listed on Friday, had an open house Sunday, had a bunch of people come, had 2 offers. Had one offer that was actually over the asking price, and they're willing to pay most of the fees and all that. So pretty good deal on that. So I'm actually going to do the interest rates are really low right now. So if you guys aren't tracking that, there might be stuff if you're looking to buy a house or any property or anything. I'm looking at doing a VA refinance on my other property, and also a cash out to do an addition to that, make that house bigger and another garage and all that. And I'm looking at like an APR of 2.7%. So the actual interest rate is like 2.65 or something with APR at 2.7 on a 20-year fixed with the VA. And it's just a good. I mean that's, and I don't know if you're watching like the Fed and stuff like that with what they're looking to do with inflation. They typically try to keep it pegged under 2%, and they just came out and said that they're going to kind of let it go up a little bit higher. So when you can borrow money, for 20-30 years at below inflation, you're essentially paying that money back over time with pretty much no interest if you're matching inflation, because you're going to be paying that money back with a cheaper dollar in the future. So just want to throw that out there. Like I said, if you guys I know the credit requirements and stuff is a little bit more stringent right now from what I'm hearing. So like I said, if it seems like a pretty good time to maybe look at buying a house or property or something, the way financing is. It is very competitive. It's more of a seller's market. There's a lot of competition. So I mean, fortunately, I have that other house, so I'm not in a buying. I already own the place, so I'm just doing a refinance at this time, so I don't have to worry about bidding wars and stuff like that if I was looking to buy something else. But like I said, it's cheap money right now, so it's something else to look into, or something else I wanted to throw out there. I got and this is kind of disturbing. The next thing I want to talk about, I got a text message with a clip from Facebook or something, one of the social platforms out there. And he sent me a picture of this, and I'm not going to get into real specific details, but I haven't heard anything about this stuff in mainstream media or any big news outlets picking up on it. But I guess there's a lot more of it going on. But what happened? I guess there was a lady, a female truck driver, been driving for a couple decades. Did some team stuff with her husband for a while, and I think he had some health issues, so she's been running by herself. And it sounded like she possibly was running, late night, early morning times, going through Birmingham, Alabama, on the interstate through there. I guess she was talking, her husband, like I said, her husband had some issues, so she was talking to him on the phone, Bluetooth or whatever. And I guess she thought she ran somebody over. Something came out in front of her, so she decided to stop the truck. And when she did, she got out, and I guess was subsequently beaten to death on the side of the highway for what I said. It seems like they didn't steal anything. didn't take the truck, just basically for no reason. And I heard in the same posting, they said, I guess like last week or something, down in Texas, another driver was shot in his truck driving down the highway, just for again, no reason. So sounds like it's this indiscriminately, targeting truck drivers out here, and in my opinion, it's just terrorism is what it is. When there's no reason for it. I mean, if you're not robbing somebody, you're just trying to, incite fear. And so that's just something I'd be watching out. I don't stop. I mean, unless I got a steer tire blown, I'm not stopping I don't stop for animals. About the only thing, I mean, a deer, I got a big steel bumper, I'll just go over top of it. So I don't really, it is what it is with a deer or something. But yeah, there's some places I go, there's some big elk that their antlers are like as tall as my windshield. So obviously something like that you ain't gonna drive away from that. But about the only thing that's gonna slow me down is the steer tire. I mean, I'm not pulling even drive tires, trailer tires, unless you got super singles, I guess. But with setup I have, I don't even pull over on the side of the road. I go next truck stop, rest area, because I've been on the other side of that as a mechanic, where I've had to go out and change tires and stuff on the side of the highway. And these people out here, they just drive with complete disregard for all human life out here. They do not care. They do not care, or they're not paying attention. And I don't want, if I did have to have somebody change a tire, I don't want them to have to do it on the side of the road, because I've been there before. So you can drive. I'm gonna tell you from experience, I've driven over 100 miles with a flat trailer tire before. Not with Landstar, but when I was a company driver with another company, I have literally driven 100 miles with one flat tire. And the only reason I stopped then because the state trooper pulled me over and said, "Hey, you got a flat tire?" I was, "Oh, really?" Didn't know about that. He's, "Oh yeah, it happens all the time, so you got to get it fixed." So, and luckily I was over by Perrysburg, and there was a TA right there, so I kind of whipped it in there and got it fixed. But so, unless it's wrapped around the brake drum, or you've gotten some air lines torn off or something like that, I'm getting to the next safe location, not only for my safety, but for the person that has to fix that tire, so for their safety as well. 30-minute breaks. I drive at night. I typically try to do my 30-minute breaks at truck stops, or rest areas are usually full, but I would definitely try to go, so I wouldn't just pull off on the side of the road somewhere or ramp. You never know who's going to pull up behind you or what's going on. So I always, the time that I pull in most of the truck stops, I pull into the bigger ones, like the bigger T's and Petros. They got a lot of fuel aisles, and a lot of times I can pull up to the line or something at that 2 or 3, 4 in the morning, and I'm not holding anybody up or bothering anybody, or I'll try to find a spot to back into, or just creep up out of the way somewhere for 30 minutes. So that's kind of my strategy for that. The other thing is, from me being coming from the military, I was deployed in Iraq, and it's one of the things it's never really left me, my kind of sense of awareness, situational awareness, what's going on around you, and just noticing, keeping your head on a swivel and noticing everything. And that's why sometimes at night I've talked about it in the past, I get frustrated with some vehicles, like especially if you're in Nebraska and there's somebody with Florida plates out there, or Michigan plates, or whatever. It's like, okay, what are you doing out here at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning that far? And when they start acting weird, that's why I look at license plates, where they're from, look in the vehicle, how they're acting. Are they getting passive aggressive with you? What's their intentions? You always got to think about try to understand or try to predict what somebody's intentions are, and act accordingly. And there's been times where I've had people, I've called DUI hotline on them, because even if they're not drunk or something, they could be severely fatigued, or they could be up to no good. Sometimes you see these people pulled over at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. They got 7 state troopers behind them, so they've done something a little bit more serious than just the drunk driving thing. So if you see something suspicious, then I would report that. Or if they're being passive aggressive with you or acting crazy or something. I was up in Chicago going out to Elgin when I actually was the owner operator at Snyder. It was actually in the evening, about 8 o'clock in the evening. I got off 294 onto the 290 over to 90. I was on 290, and there was a lot. It wasn't stop and go. It was smooth. Traffic was moving, but it was pretty thick traffic going through there. And I had a car, a little, one of those little Japanese cars with the big exhaust and all that whatnot on it. But I was cruising along. He came over right in front. He was so close. That was when I had my T6A. The guy was so close to me that he got over. I couldn't even see his car over top of my hood. He just came right over in front of me. Then I just kind of flipped my lights at him. You know, and I was like, you know, what was that all about? I mean, there was plenty of room. Then all of a sudden, this guy turned a smoke machine on and smoked out the whole highway. So I know it wasn't something. It smelled like wood, and it wasn't oil or anything that would be coming from a car, but he smoked out the entire highway. And I mean, if somebody, like, I just let off and kind of cruised through it. And but I mean, it was all, I think it's 4 lanes through there, 3 or 4 lanes. The whole highway was smoked out with gray smoke. So, and I don't know what the guy was. And I had just bought my dash camera at the time, and I had a really small SD card in it. So by the time, it only did like 20 or 30 minutes. So the time that I got pulled over to check it, it had already looped over it, and I couldn't even get the guy's information to pass it along to the authorities on that one. So I mean, you just don't know what people, you don't know what they're, I mean, there's a lot of people out here with bad intentions. I mean, they want to see people get hurt. And like I said, I don't know what the deal is with these beatings and whatnot, but I would definitely look at having some type of protection. I always carry, I got a little multi-tool, pocket, it has a knife on it, little pocket knife. So, you know, you got to stay within the legal parameters, I guess. But I always carry a pocket knife of some sort. Maybe one of those you know, get yourself one of those tire thumpers, the wooden ones look like a baseball bat kind of. I keep a hammer, just a claw hammer that I, you know, keep in there for beating the tires or something. I keep it next to my, you know, underneath my seat, so it's right there. So I mean, there are some other options out there. I am a gun owner, but I haven't really, I've never, I mean, with state laws, I mean, some states you can have a gun. There is no federal law that says you cannot have a firearm in a commercial vehicle. So contrary to some belief out there, there is not. A lot of it has to do with the company and the states you're running. I mean, some states you would have to separate the ammunition and the hand, you know, the gun or whatever, and put them in locked boxes or whatever. So I'm not going to get into all the technicalities of that. So I haven't carried a gun in the truck, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. I don't even know if I even considered looking at that option. You know, there are tasers, pepper spray, things of that. But you got to protect yourself somehow and just be vigilant. And if something's suspicious, then move on or call 911 or something. So yeah, like I said, if I see something crazy out here, if somebody's acting weird with me or you know, engaging me for some reason when you're the only people on the highway, then I call it in. So I mean, I don't like getting people in trouble, but there's just no reason for that nonsense, and you don't know what somebody's intentions are. So, but that's that. Drug it on. The other thing I want to talk about, I got an email this morning. Like, I still get the ATPS newsletters. I don't use their services anymore because I'm kind of more complicated with the farm stuff and the other business and with my wife and all that. It's just easier for me to handle, excuse me, everything in-house, and I'm pretty comfortable with it, with doing everything myself. But I do still get their newsletter, and they kind of were talking about freight market outlooks and a couple other things I'll touch on real quick here. So basically, what they've said that from the July 19 to July 20, I guess about the average net income for net, you know, not 1099, net income after expenses for that rolling year, 12 months, was just under 64,000. So not too bad there. And then they had talked about the last 6 months. And for 2020, we were actually at 32,000 net for the last 6 months, and I guess some of that was attributed to low fuel costs. So we're actually higher. I believe they said 2019 for the same period, we were like 31.3, and for 2019, I think it was 31.8. So we were actually higher, and even with everything that's gone on, we've been better off still in 2020 in the last 6 months net than we were in 2018, and I'm seeing better rates now than I seen in 2018. You know, this year, with especially coming, you know, the lanes I run, West Coast and back, the rates coming out of California right now are phenomenal. I don't know how that has to do with AB5. I had a question. I think my wife does the Facebook thing. I'm not a member of Facebook, but she has a page on there that she'll the questions are answered by me, but she watches it and lets me know what questions need to be answered. So we had somebody ask about if Landstar is hiring drivers out of California, and I don't know that answer for sure. You'd have to call recruiting. But what I had heard, like I said, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I had heard. And I had heard that a lot of carriers aren't hiring out of California now because of that nonsense with that AB5 and other stuff out here. And I know I had heard that a lot of carriers, they're going to end their relationships with the owners that want to stay in the state. I don't know if they've given them a deadline, and I'm not even. That's just what I had heard through the grapevine. So it may not be 100% accurate. So I know some guys are moving to like Nevada and Arizona and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure, but what I had heard, like I said, through the grapevine, or not directly from Landstar, is that they are trying to get those drivers to move, owner operators, to move out of California, or I don't know if they were going to continue the relationship or what's going to happen. I had also heard that Landstar, they're not letting the guys that live in California book loads out of California. So that means if you're in California, you would have to go to Arizona or Nevada. And that kind of makes sense because the rates coming out of like Reno area, Vegas, and like Yuma, Phoenix, they suck. So they're just not very, I mean, it's worth it. If I take something to Phoenix, I make tons more money deadheading the 4 or 5 hours over to Los Angeles and getting a load. It makes up for it multiple times just to run over. And I don't know if that's the thing across the board, where a lot of carriers aren't letting these guys take stuff out of California, where they're making them go across state lines to get something. So it kind of adds up to me. But like I said, that's just what I've heard. So if you are from California, and if you work for Landstar and you are from California, you might have insight, let me know about that and I can update that. But that's what I had heard, so don't take that as 100%. That's just what I had heard out there right now. So you'd have to, if you are in California and you're looking to come on to Landstar, just talk to recruiting, and they should be able to update you on all that, what's going on with it. So that is that. The other thing they had talked about, there was one guy on there saying on that ATBS email newsletter, he was saying that he thought that the end of the year, the back half of the year, here going forward, is going to be tougher. And I don't agree with that personally. The rates are really strong. I think the supply-demand situation is more in the drivers, the owners, owner-operators side right now, which at the beginning of the year, when we had all that, everybody was complaining about the rates and brokers and everything else. It's supply and demand. If you got more trucks than there are loads, then the rates are going to go down. If you got more loads than there are trucks, then the rates are going to go up. So that's just the way it works, supply and demand. So rates are good. I think we're still in a good position. And this time September, October-ish is when we start that ramp up towards the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And that's usually when I make my best money out of the year, is about from September to Christmas, the week before Christmas. Then you're going to have that drop off right after Christmas. January, February are always slow. So, and that's just usually how it is for me. And usually Octobers and Novembers are my highest grossing months typically. So I mean, August has been really good. I'm waiting to, once I get these 2 loads out of the way, we'll see the numbers for the whole month of August here. I think it's going to be probably one of my higher months I've ever had. I had 4 or 5 loads, I guess, this month, longer loads, but this one, that window load grossed like 8,000, and this load I'm picking up grossed 7,000. So gross before Landstar cut, I'm making 15,000 on this round trip for 2 weeks. I mean, should be delivering this next one for next Friday. So just wanted to throw that information out there. Again, thank y'all for the support and the views and the new subscribers out there. Again, if you're not subscribed, get subscribed, hit the bell for the updates, and hit the like. And like I said, I'll get a couple more videos out here. I'm going to do separate videos on these jobs, so that way, somebody's looking for that specific thing or a specific job, fan belt tensioner, fan belt, and cab leveling valve. So I'll do separate videos on those and get those out here this weekend as well. So again, be safe out there, be vigilant, watch out, keep your head on a swivel, and just keep on trucking, and we'll see y'all next time.